Is Landstar the best owner-operator company? Well, I don't know, but in this video, I'm going to talk about the reasons and decisions that directed my path to Landstar, including why I left the spot market and things to consider before jumping out there, why Landstar and not anyone else, and probably the most controversial question, why Landstar at 65% versus another company at say 80% or even as high as 90%. So, if you want to know the answers to those questions, stick around. Now, initially, what I want to say is I'm not going to sell you on Landstar, okay? I've never approached my channel that way, and I'm not going to start now, so I'm not here to sell you on anything. What I am going to say is if you're interested in the largest owner-operator company on the market, if you're interested how they operate, what you can do here potentially, if you want to know kind of how things work, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and go ahead and tap that like button while you're at it. But make sure that you ring the notification bell so that way you know what videos and when are coming out. And also something I'm not going to cover is the pandemic, because ultimately that didn't really weigh heavily in my decision. Sure, it was a small factor, but I'll get into that in a little bit. I'm sure you're tired of hearing about it, and right now the freight volumes and rates are absolutely in the tank. But I hope everyone out there is healthy and happy and making money. If you're out doing that, if you're at home, hey, enjoy it while you can. But first, I'd like to talk about why I left the spot market. And there's a few reasons. Ultimately, I went into the spot market in late July. So, and I pull a step deck. If you're new to the channel, I pull a 53-foot low pro step deck, and that's a very, when you're running platform, especially something a little bit more specialized than just a flatbed, you're subject to what we call platform season or flatbed season, really. And the winter months they're pretty tough, for platforms. A lot of the independent carriers that have been doing this a long time, that are very profitable, generally own more than one trailer. Now, I'm fairly new in my journey. I bought this truck back in October 2017, so I still consider myself a rookie and learning. But in the off season, things get very, very difficult. A lot of platform drivers just they kind of go home for a month or two, even 3. But being on the spot market really opened my eyes to kind of the, how severe those slopes really are. When you're on the spot market, when rates go up on the spot market, that's the last thing that's going to rise when we're talking about rates. When the freight volumes go down on the spot market, they're the first to go down. So when you're talking about ups, the spot market is kind of last to follow the curve, and when you're talking about downs, they're kind of the first to tank. And really, I had a lot of things that kind of happened to me over the winter, some that I, talked about on YouTube, some that were personal that I didn't share. I had a lot of small issues with the truck that really wouldn't be, out of the ordinary when you're talking about owning your own truck or owning a trucking business. It's just part of doing business. But it was one thing after another that led me to have, kind of a difficult winter when you add in how difficult this past winter really, really was. And it was one of those things where I kind of got behind the 8 ball and I never could catch up. I couldn't, I would get stuck. I'd have a load that would go wrong. I'd get smashed by the weather. And 2019 being one of the worst years that we've had as of late, well, it just exacerbated the whole situation and kind of made everything worse. So the spot market, I don't know what it's like during the peak seasons. Now, I have watched the spot market. I've watched the load boards during the summer, and the rates were phenomenal. So I want to say that if you're financially very, very stable, then you know, the spot market can be a good place to make really good money. You just need to know that the ups and the downs are way more volatile than working for, you know, a company like Landstar or Mercer. So the volatility of the spot market, it really hammered me. And then, you know, me jumping out there kind of going into the winter season, well, that was just stupid. And the second thing that I'd like to touch on is why Landstar and not anyone else? Well, Landstar has, you know, some massive discounts, and they're even hard to be touched by some of the other larger owner-operator companies. The discounts, I mean, I've seen multiple times where I'm getting $1 off of the cash price at the TAs and Petros. And since I've been here at Landstar, I've paid less than $1.50 for fuel, which at this time, I think the average price on the sign is like, I don't know, in the range of like $2.20 to $2.40. So massive discounts, and obviously fuel being, you know, one of our biggest expenses. So having that massive discount on fuel, well, you know, that's awesome. But then you throw in the other things like, you know, tires, you know, different national accounts that you can take advantage of, you know, being leased on to Landstar. Your operating expenses are dropped, you know, or they're reduced dramatically. And one of the biggest expenses when you're talking about spot market versus Landstar being the insurance. The insurance is a huge difference. And in these times when, you know, kind of money's tight, you know, we're operating on even a more slim profit margin than we would be normally. Well, every penny counts. And you know, last year the insurance rates actually increased, and I don't know about this year's rates. I heard they increased, but that's hearsay. I don't know for a fact. If they did, you know, that makes moving to Landstar kind of even more juicy, because I think I'm paying around like $400 a month for my insurance. So I'll definitely take that. But when you lower your operating costs so much, you know, the moving over to Landstar for me made a lot of sense. And you know, having a depleted account for right now, because of the winter that I had and because of kind of, you know, expenses and stuff, you know, a company like Landstar, let's say I blow a tire on the side of the road, well, rather than me coming directly out of pocket, that's going to be something that's put on the national account, and then it's going to be taken out of my settlements. Actually, I think in increments. You may be able to pay for it all at once, but that's how it was explained to me. So having that safety net of a larger company is definitely nothing to shake a stick at. And then the last thing, and this is definitely something that I think is severely misunderstood and is extremely important to kind of grasp and to get your mind around. So I'm going to do my best to explain it. Why on earth would I choose 65% over, you know, like 80%, or some companies even pay all the way up to 90%? Okay, here's why. And first of all, let me start off by, I do own my own trailer, so, you know, my percentage is 73%, and instead of 65%. If you only own your truck and you come to Landstar, you know, you're going to be making 65%. So let's look at that. Why would you choose 65 over, like, let's call it 80? At Landstar, you're getting 65% of what's called shipping rate. And this is the actual cost of moving the freight from point A to point B from the original shipper. Okay, the more middlemen that you start putting in, you know, a broker, you start putting in a broker to a company to the driver, and you can see that you know, the pieces of the pie is going to get smaller and smaller every single time, versus Landstar's just 65% shipping rate, so that's the largest money. And on the direct shippers from Landstar, okay, so that's their actual customers that they've acquired, that they're in contract agreement with, you're almost always coming out quite a bit ahead on that 65%, versus some other company that's at 80% running the spot market. The spot market is operating at carrier rate. So you're talking about shipping rate minus the broker rate, minus I don't even know what other rates, because I don't know, but even just those, even just between the broker to the carrier, you're talking about a much lower rate. And so that 80% is taken from a smaller piece of the pie versus a shipping rate that's taking the entire pie, and your 65% is going to come out a lot higher than the majority of the other companies when you're running, like let's say the spot market. We're going to leave names out of it, but like let's compare kind of Landstar to Mercer. I would compare my numbers to my buddy's numbers, and they would be very similar. I do speak very highly of Mercer still. I chose not to go back because I saw just a plethora of specialized freight, and I do have that low pro trailer, so I wanted to start taking advantage of that and try to step into more of the specialized freight and kind of get my foot in the door, kind of that route. So I felt like Landstar was a better choice, for me. That all of that being said, I do not think Riverdog Express is a bad company. In fact, I speak very highly about them as well. If you're wanting to run the spot market, you don't want those limitations of what a major company, just kind of all the BS that comes along with it, then, Riverdog Express is a great company to work for if you want, kind of the freedom of running the spot market. If you're in a solid financial situation and you can afford to run the spot market, I highly recommend Riverdog. It is a good company. I always got my money. I got every single penny, every single time. Never once did I have to argue about my settlement. And, that's all that we can ask for as truckers out here, being an owner-operator. Also, I got my money very quickly. I was always paid within 48 hours of delivering the load. So it wasn't that, there was something wrong with Riverdog. It's that it wasn't working for me. If I could have survived and made it through into the summer months, maybe maybe without the pandemic, I would have been fine. But you couple in, this pandemic, which also I didn't see it coming. I didn't forecast it, but, even with or without the pandemic, I don't think I would have made it into the summer. So it's just what I had to do. It is what it is. I'm not proud of it. Do I look at it as a failure? No. I look at it as a learning opportunity. Now I know a lot more about the spot market. I know a lot more about rates, and I am one step closer to creating a solid foundation in my trucking business, my trucking knowledge, and moving forward, this is going to be, it's a lateral movement, so it's not necessarily a failure per se, but, it felt a little bit like that. I do want to share that with you guys. I haven't posted a lot of YouTube videos lately. I had this going on, and this took up a lot of my time. And then, of course, with the pandemic going on, I wasn't able to go home. It's been rough on me, so just kind of bear with me. I am getting back into it. You are going to see a lot more videos from here going forward. So I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope everybody is happy and healthy, and just tough it out, guys. I know that this is really tough, but I do believe if you're able to come out the other side of what's going on with the trucking, just trucking in general right now, that you're going to be so much better off if you do actually, kind of persevere and make it through this tough times that we're going through now. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to hang on, barring some kind of catastrophic event. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, hit that like button, and as always, stay driven.